This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard here this evening as we get set up for what is a quieter night in Edmonton Oilers land. It's been a quieter week in Edmonton Oilers land, one might assume, right, as we are into just about the third week of July. And things are slowing down and the news is trickling to a halt as it usually does about this time every year. But again, Jeff Jackson's been very active, and today on a podcast, on the Bob McCown podcast, talking with John Shannon and Bob McCown about, hey, kind of how things are shaping out here in the next few weeks. And obviously, we're still also sitting here with some overarching themes for the rest of the summer. Leon Draisaitl contract extension, Evander Kane's status, however that shakes out, and then, of course, the break glass in case of emergency trade of Cody Ceci to get cap compliance. So there's 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 things that are hanging over this team's kind of bubble right now. And one of those things is a general manager who will take the job, who is going to be the guy. And it was Jeff Jackson on the McCown podcast today talking about how's things shaking out. Well, talking to some candidates, trying to go through, evaluate everything. And again, Jeff Jackson kind of put a timeline on it right on that July 1st area. He kind of said sometime in the next 10 days was his ideal. That didn't happen. So then now all of a sudden we're a few days after that now, and Jeff Jackson's saying, I don't want to put a timeline on it, but hopefully sometime in the next week to 10 days is when he's projecting things to shake out with the general manager. And what that should mean for the Oilers is, at least at a bare minimum, the internal candidates that we have gotten some kind of time to impress, some time to obviously as well speak up for themselves to maybe fill the role. And I think you see the Oilers have no limit of good options within the organization, and I'm sure there are a ton of good options outside the organization as well. So right now, as it currently sits for the Oilers, again, a slow news day, but that's not a bad thing. And I think too is Keith Gretzky on with Jason Gregor today talking about how, hey, you know what, the Oilers have some really good guys that could, in a regular Edmonton Oilers year, just looking from a standpoint, fan standpoint, make the Edmonton Oilers roster, right? Matthew Savoy, any other year than maybe the past two, actually maybe just outside of this year, makes the NHL roster out of camp this year. Then as again, you've also got Robbie Arventi, who is coming in as a better upgraded edition of Xavier Bourgault, who departs after not really doing much of anything, unfortunately, after being selected first round by the Oilers back in, 21, I think. But right, as you kind of look at this and laugh at this a little bit, is you've got two guys that have been percolating in systems a couple of years now in Arventi and of course Savoy, and still there's no room for them. And it's kind of one of those things, you got Keith Gretzky saying, well, they're going to be top-line guys in the AHL. And I think, too, Noah Philp getting a lot of recognition for what he may do in the AHL this year. The Bakersfield Condors, especially if you're down in California, are going to be a fun team to watch this year. I know last year at times was substantially a painful process because there was a lot of vets, there was a lot of injuries, there was a lot of line juggling, there was a lot of not such great decision making from the coaching staff from a development standpoint. But again, I guess at the end of the day, it is pro hockey, and you got to go with the best possible chance to win. But still, for the Oilers, it was kind of a disaster class in the AHL this past year, trying to develop. Right, you look at Tulio Chiasson, and right now Carter Savoy is also on the outs with the organization, although there's rumors he might be back. And then you've got Xavier Bourgault departing. There's a lot of, now, by the way, I think Marcus Niemelainen's gone too. So there's a lot of guys that have moved on from this Bakersfield Condors roster from this past season. And you look at it, right, as new GMs coming in. And I think that's why you really want to stick with an internal candidate now looking at it, just because you want to keep that kind of cohesion, that nice team atmosphere you've already got going under Jeff Jackson now, and how hard it would be for somebody to add maybe an extra hour's work overall to their job title outside of what they're already doing in the Oilers front office. I'm saying it is very much so lining up to me that I'd prefer an internal candidate, because what we've done here in the past 2-3 weeks is kind of building towards exactly where we've always wanted to be. And I don't know if there's any reason to bring in an outside voice that might not necessarily share the exact same vision as the Edmonton Oilers front office currently has, assembling the roster it has so far in this offseason. Friends, thanks for being aboard this Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here.